Hey, Last Looks crew. Do you have kids? Do you want to have kids? Do you want to start a family, but you're not sure if that's even possible in this industry? Well, I started a conversation with hairstylist Katherine Barber and makeup artist Michelle Sfarzo, two incredible women in the entertainment industry, and they shared their personal journeys. Their stories shed light on the strength and resilience required to navigate pregnancy in the film industry, as well as the crucial role of support and understanding from peers and employers. Riding the waves of this industry while juggling motherhood responsibilities can be daunting. Comprising of long hours and physical demands, achieving work-life equilibrium hinges heavily on open communication, seeking support, and prioritizing self-care. And Michelle and Katherine get into all of that in this episode. Now, we have our next live Q&A tickets available now for March 2nd. We will be asking makeup designer Erin Kruger-McCash and hair designer Michelle Seglia all of your questions. Now, these two ladies have worked on so many amazing projects together, including a bunch of the American Horror Story seasons, and have done so many incredible jobs in their careers thus far. I have no doubt you will have a question or two to ask them. So get your ticket, submit your questions, and remember, it's okay if you can't make the live. I send out a personalized link for all ticket holders of the entire Q&A, so no one misses out. Link in the show notes below, or look for live Q&A at last-looks.com. My name is Jamie Lee, a film hairstylist living in Long Beach, and this is the Last Looks podcast, a show where I catch up with hairstylists and makeup artists working in the film and TV industries around the world. And today, on this bonus episode, I'm speaking with Katherine and Michelle about motherhood and the film industry. Let's go.
And now, our feature presentation.
Pictures up.
Last looks. Rolling.
And action.
Welcome to the Last Looks podcast, Katherine and Michelle.
Hi.
Hello.
Now, ladies, I'm so excited to be chatting with you today because you're both remarkable women who've brought your incredible skills to the film industry, but now you've added a new role to your resumes, and that's motherhood.
Yes.
Now, Michelle, I remember seeing you on the insane set that was Babylon, and you were working on background, doing makeup. And is it safe to say you were very, very pregnant?
Yes.
Okay.
I was very pregnant. When I started, I was 7 months.
Yeah.
And then it was all the way up till 9.
Oh my God.
So it was actually, I started Babylon at exactly 7 months.
Far out.
And then my very last working day was Babylon. And I was a month out from my due date, but I could not get my shoes on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what stopped me from coming in another day.
Oh, shit. Because I remember seeing you and knowing how exhausted I was, and I was thinking you must have been superhuman. It was incredibly impressive.
I do not know how I had that much energy, but I had a lot of energy during my pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I think partly I don't like being told I can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt, everyone feels like you're this fragile little thing when you're pregnant.
Mm.
And I was feeling very good. I'm like, no, I could do it. I can do all these background. I can run around. I can lift that up. And I was feeling great. I think when the swelling started kicking in and I had a very long, hot working summer during my pregnancy. Yeah, I went through all pairs of my shoes, and when the laces I couldn't tie my laces anymore and get the shoes on. I think it was my very last working day I called Mandy, the background supervisor on Babylon. I said, hey, I want to come to work today. I totally can. My problem is I can't get my shoes on. Is it okay if I wear sandals to set? And she's like, no problem. We'll just keep you in the tent. You don't have to go to set. All good. So I just threw on my Birkenstocks. It was a Friday, luckily. And she had been giving me, week to week. She was like, so do you think you can come back Monday? You want to come back next week? And I think Friday, I was like, I'm so sorry. I think this is my last day, just because can't wear proper shoes to work. And it's,
Yeah, I got to call it.
I got to call it. Yeah. And she was like, I totally understand, dude. I totally understand. No worries. But they were so sweet. When I came to set, it was like there was flowers for me, and they were just amazing. It was such an amazing experience, even though, Babylon was a wild ride. But
that's awesome.
I really, truly felt supported during that whole experience.
That's good. That's what you want. And Katherine, I also met you on Babylon. You were smashing out here in our crowd room, but you were not pregnant at that time. And you've had your little guy semi-recently.
Yeah. Michelle, I remember you being pregnant very vividly on Babylon. And I was just like, how is she doing this? This is crazy. But yeah, I worked up until 34 weeks every day during my pregnancy. I was on 3 different shows pregnant. And they weren't like Babylon, though. So it was a little bit easier. But, regardless of how easy or hard the show is, waking up at those hours and the long days, and when you're not feeling, like you can do your best, it is hard no matter what.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to start with the question, did you always see yourself being mothers?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually doing it already. I have a 9-year-old. She's my daughter, but she's really my stepdaughter, but I've been raising her since she was 10 months old.
Wow.
She came into my life when I was non-union, and that was tough. I mean, we were working $50 to $100 a day. Me and my husband barely could afford diapers, formula. We had no money. I mean, we were negative in our account every month, but we had to make sure we had food for her. Yeah. So it was rough. And I didn't get in the union until she was 5 years old. So that first 5 years was pretty tough. And then once we got health insurance and all that, it just, it was a relief. It was a relief. But,
and you've managed to keep her alive. So that's good. You're doing well.
Yeah. We hadn't made up our minds we were going to have another one, because it was such an experience just with her. And all the stuff we went through. But I felt once I was in the union and things were going really well, I felt very confident having another one. But there still was fear. There was fear of, are people going to hire me because I'm pregnant? They're going to think I'm weak or not going to be able to do the job. Or they're worried about me being on location. But I think since I had so many supportive friends who also wanted to be mothers, and one was Shauna Gorlick, well, now Shauna Chavez. She knew. Actually, she was the first person that found out I was pregnant. It was on Don't Worry, Darling. I was doing background for that. So I told her there. Yeah. And then she kept supporting me, I think, the most. And once I started showing, everybody caught word, Michelle's pregnant, let's give her as much work as possible. And I think that was the most work I've ever worked, the most, when I was pregnant.
That's impressive.
And all the years that I was union.
Yeah.
So,
and Katherine, did you always want to be a mum?
I think when I was younger, I didn't really think about it. It just seemed so far away. When I got married and got in the union, I was like, I think I could do this. That was a big thing. We waited until I got into the union. And once, you have more regular work and it's not so, scrambling paycheck to paycheck, things seem a little bit more doable. That was it. But then, of course, once you get in the union and you start working, you're like, I don't want to stop it now, So it's always, it's going to be a hard decision no matter where you're at in your career. I know people who did it non-union and it was actually easier for them. But for me, I knew that I would want to be more established.
Yeah. So what were some of the other factors that you were considering when deciding kind of like when?
I don't think there's ever a right time, but yeah, like I said, it was kind of, we didn't think we were going to have another one because we were satisfied with everything with Rogue, but that one was tough. I think this was after COVID too. It was another thing. So we had already not worked for a year and then work started back up, and I don't know. I think maybe COVID kind of started that, because we started to realize what was important, and it really made us slow down. And I think with everybody feels about the same way. makes you realize what's truly important. And our family is important. It's more important than work. And so I think we started to really think about it and be serious about it after the whole COVID experience. And by the end of 2020, we found out I was pregnant actually January 1st.
Yeah.
So we were trying, but not trying, but trying. And we'll see how it goes. But I think that whole year was just such an eye opener for, what's important to us.
Yeah. What about you, Katherine?
Yeah, definitely COVID made me rethink about what is important, because for so long it was like the only thing that matters is my job. Like I miss like funerals, I miss birthday parties, I miss, pretty much everything. Everything took a back seat to my job. And then once COVID happened and I had more time to kind of reflect and figure out what I wanted for my life, I knew that, if we didn't have kids, I, wouldn't regret it. A year from now, I may not regret it 5 years from now, but I knew I would regret it in the, future. So we decided that if it's something we really want to do, we need to prioritize it and we'll figure it out. You have to learn, I think in this industry, as a mom, you have to learn how to ask for help as well. You have to get good at asking for help because you need help. You can't do it on your own. And so, luckily we have family here, but we also still have a nanny. We also still have daycare, and you can't do it alone.
Yeah. And was there ever a point where you just didn't think it was going to be possible? Just juggle with the industry.
Sort of what I just said. I think it's like it's your mindset, and you determine what that's going to be. And if you think that you can do it, you can do it. And I never wanted my job to be a reason why I didn't do something in my personal life.
Yeah.
Exactly. I feel the same way.
Yeah. And did you guys have friends like Michelle, you're talking about Shauna, she didn't have June at that time, but did you have friends that had already started families and kind of gave you advice and helped you see how possible it was?
Well, when my husband came into my life and we had Rogue, and I started that mother journey. I was 24 years old. None of my friends in LA had kids. I was the only one who had them. Yeah. So the support that I had were having my friends watch Rogue while one of us, or both of us would have to go to work and go to set for $100 a day.
Yeah.
And, I was working towards my union days, and we really needed our friends. And Joseph's family lives in Riverside, which is an hour away. And my family lives in Northern California. So that's 7 hours. And we really didn't have family here to just, you got a job at, 7 p.m. We need someone coming in like early in the morning to watch her so we could both go to work. We had at least one good friend and her name was Torin Reed, and she was over almost every day, last minute. She was also in the industry, also a makeup artist. But
well, my friends that are in the industry, that are my age, don't want kids, so they were kind of like, "Why are you doing this?" So they still are like, "Are you sure?"
Just push it back in.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, "Come on, don't do this."
Oh yeah, I got that a lot too.
For sure.
I was like, well, I already have one, so
yeah. I also, when I was non-union, I got advice from a costumer, and she said, don't tell anyone that you're pregnant. Just, go away, have your baby, and then come back to the industry because people won't hire you. And I thought that was the weirdest advice, because then when I got in the industry or in the union, I found so much support from other moms that I was working with that I was like, why would you hide your pregnancy? And I just think back about her, and I'm like, that's so sad that she felt like that she had to do that. And I think it is a little interesting. Like, once people found out on set that I was pregnant, I got some definitely unsolicited advice from a lot of men.
What?
Yeah.
Can I have some examples?
Yes. Oh my God. I had one man tell me, and it was it was always so weird because it would just be in the van or something. They'd be riding to set or whatever, and feel like they wanted to tell me what they thought. And one man told me, he was like, you will homeschool your kid, and you will quit your job. Trust me. That's what my wife did. And basically, and I was just I didn't even know how to respond to him. And I was just like, okay, That's strange.
I had one guy tell me on set that I was endangering my child.
Yes.
It was child endangerment. And I was like, okay.
Fuck's sakes.
Yeah. And like much unsolicited advice. That would probably be the only reason why. And then I did tell my department, I was like, at least because we were just finishing up a job. We had 6 weeks left. I was like, can we just keep this under wraps and keep it in our department? I don't want, I just, didn't when I wasn't showing, I was like, I just don't want, bunch of people giving me up because it was weird. It was just all out of the blue, just coming from everywhere and everyone. And I was just not interested in that. But
so strange.
Yeah. A lot of good, but there was a lot of strange too.
Yeah. Right. But I had a lot of good women that I was working with who have children anywhere from ages 4 to 21. And they gave me so much good advice, and they had a lot of experience with, how you can do this. And they were always like, you can do it. It's possible. And really, really helping me along the way. So I was fortunate for that.
So let's chat about navigating pregnancy, just expanding on what you're saying and still working. I guess just physically, mentally, once you do start showing. And also, Katherine, why was the only reason you didn't want people to know at that point because you didn't want to have those conversations, or was there more to it?
Yeah, that was something that I thought about a lot, was that I didn't, especially because reflecting on how I thought of people being pregnant before I was pregnant, and just how bad can the swelling be? You know what I mean? How bad is the nausea? You never know. And everybody's experience is different. And so same thing, Michelle, when I couldn't put my shoes on, even my husband was like, you can't put your shoes on. I'm like, I cannot put my shoes on. Actually experiencing that, you definitely develop a lot more respect and sympathy for mothers. But I had a relatively easy pregnancy. I also had women who were I was throwing up every day, and I didn't have any of that. So I was really lucky. But it still is super uncomfortable. And I had circulation issues where my feet hurt so bad, worse than they've ever hurt before. I would wake up and it would feel like I had been at Disneyland all day. It was no relief. And so that was really hard. That was couple months that was really hard to go to work. And then just small things like washing somebody's hair in the bowl in the trailer, and your stomach is getting in the way and you can't bend over. I remember I was cutting a wig. I had to do a haircut. I had really bad tension in my shoulders, and I literally just put my scissors down and left, because it was the last thing that I had to do before leaving. I was like, I just can't do this.
Yeah.
So you just need to know your limits. And, I was very aware that, if I can't do something right now, I can't do it.
Yeah. And I guess for both of you, and Katherine, you said that you're on multiple different jobs throughout your pregnancy. And it sounds like, Michelle, you're very open with communication with Mandy. I guess do you think that's incredibly important? Just staying in communication with those that you're working with?
Absolutely. Extremely important. I that summer I was on Babylon and I was on Our Flag Means Death. So I had communication with Karen Jackson, and I had communication with Mandy, Shauna, Heba. I think when I got hired, it was, are you available? I'm like, yes. I don't want you to be surprised, but I'm very pregnant, but I'm very capable of doing this job. And they said that, that's great. We're going to help you out as much as possible. And I don't think I really expected that. And I was worried that they would just keep me in the tent or maybe hire me one day a week. I didn't expect to get every day. Do you want to come back tomorrow? Do you want to come back tomorrow? Are you okay to come back tomorrow? We want to give you as much work as possible before this baby comes. I was not expecting the full support. And it really opens my eyes to the circle that I just want to keep being with, women supporting each other. And not even just women, but other artists in the industry supporting each other, of people that want families. And another person that truly, truly helped me out, and then this is another topic, was James McKinnon on, they were still on Picard, and it was him and Bianca Peace. And I had just had the baby, and this is kind of further on, but had the baby. I was going through postpartum, I was scared to come back to work. I honestly was scared James didn't want me at work because I had to pump. I was just scared, more scared of what the men would do, you know, how would they treat me? And he was like, we just have her come in to remove. So they had me come in and just remove the prosthetics. I was there for 4 hours and then I'd go home. And that was amazing. And that's all I needed to hear was people are willing to help you. And it was just truly inspiring. And I felt, it makes me choke up because, sorry, I was just so scared. Sorry, hold on.
No, you're okay. I mean, it is scary. It sounds terrifying, and you don't know how people are going to react. And I'm sure sometimes you might think someone's going to have your back and understand the situation, and they totally don't get it. Or those that you are surprised by that are just very supportive and totally understand.
Truly.
And I don't think either. It's just, I think things are changing. I feel like however many years back in the good old days, like the costume designer that you were talking about giving you that advice, Katherine, I'm hoping that mind that's shifting, that way of thinking is shifting, because it is possible, obviously. And I hope that more heads of department and those that are hiring are open to have that conversation with people, to be like, well, what do you need? Do you just need to, are you at aid and skate? Like if we can get rid of you sooner, would you want to just come in, process, and then leave? Like, because
exactly. And it's all day to day.
Yeah. And so many times you don't need everyone all day, every day. So it's just like, why not work out those that need their work-life balance to be a little more, well, in balance and in check, and those that are happy to, you know, stay till the 6 a.m.
Exactly. And I think it is, you know, you're keeping that open communication with them, and they care about you, you know, they truly care about how you're feeling. And that was part of it too, is like, oh, they care. I'm like, wow, they really care about me when I'm pregnant. But once I'm not pregnant, are they going to care about me again? It was, I'm pregnant now, I'm getting all this support. And once I'm not pregnant, are they still going to give me support, you know, after I have the baby? Or is this just a fluke? Because before being pregnant, you know, you're working these crazy hours, you're going through the ringer, you're expected to stay or expected to work hard and just keep working hard no matter what. Push through it. Push through the you know, you'll work some jobs that are very toxic, and, you know, I was newer, you know, being newer in the union, you want to please, you want to make sure that you're doing a good job, and even if it's hell. So I think I was just so emotional and happy during my pregnancy because I was being treated so well, and people actually cared about my well-being and cared about, you know, day to day. Are you okay to stay? Are you okay to leave? What do you want to do? Do you want to come back tomorrow? Yes, of course. I was feeling great. So, and I think that gave me energy too, to keep going all the way to the end. So it's very important to have that circle and have the communication, being like, I am pregnant. I want to work, and I'm going to work my ass off.
Yeah. Katherine, did you have fears like that?
I had a lot of support. I did have fears because, you know, I'm used to performing like a certain, like working really, really hard. And I knew that was something that I like, you know, you're kind of trying to like put on a front, you know, like that you are still fine and you're okay. But inside you're like, you know, this is really hard. But I think that my department head was very understanding and patient with me. Like I remember one morning, the fatigue, the hormones, the way they affected me was like, I was exhausted. And I think that was how people first knew that or the women that I was working with knew that I was pregnant, was that I took a nap at lunch, and they were like, you have never taken a nap in like the history of knowing you. So like, they were like, are you pregnant? And I was like, I was only like 4 weeks pregnant then. And so, you know, I think just having patience and having grace. And then, and yeah, of course I had those fears.
Yeah. And with working full time during your pregnancy as well, like how did you navigate? Because you guys need to go to doctor's appointments and all of this type of stuff as well. So how were your heads of department with that type of thing?
Teresa, my department head was amazing. She was like, whatever you need to do for yourself, you need to do for yourself, and we'll take care of whatever needs to happen. Like whatever's going to happen on set is going to happen on set, regardless of whether you're here or not. So she was like, do what you got to do, you know? But towards the end, I actually was going to work up until like 38 weeks. But then the last 2 weeks of our show, we were like in Long Beach. And, you know, during that last month, or I forget when it starts, but you start going to doctor's appointments once a week. And I was like, I can't be staying, or no, it wasn't Long Beach. It was like where Disneyland is, Anaheim. Yeah. And so I was like, I can't be driving to Orange County or staying in a hotel and then coming back up for doctor's appointments. And, you know, so I was like, I got to call it. That's when I did say that I, you know, had reached my limit, and I stopped at 34 weeks. But yeah, my department head was amazing. She was really, really understanding.
That's awesome.
But yeah, the doctor's appointments, so many doctor's appointments. But I think too, when you're getting hired to work background, it is really lovely because it was so week to week. I was able to just be like, oh, I can do the week. I just can't do this day. And it wasn't a big deal. It was like, oh, okay, we'll just have this person come in that day. It was a lot of like accommodating. I was like, everybody was so accommodating for my situation. And it just felt so good to be supported for once and be treated like a human being, you know?
Yeah. It sounds like you've both had very positive experiences, which is fantastic to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
I think also though, the beautiful thing about this job, and when a lot of people say like, oh, how can you do it with this job? And I'm like, I think that this job really lends flexibility to you that a lot of other jobs wouldn't allow for you to. So let's say I was having a bad 2 months or in the future, if my kid is having trouble in school or something, I can choose to day play. I can choose to take a break. And come back to it. You know, I can choose to not take a show if I can't. And in other jobs, you can't do that. It's either you quit your job or you're at your job, right? So I feel like looking at the positive of the flexibility with the schedules and the, you know, or if I'm on something and I just got to get through it, I can get through, you know, I can 4 months or 6 months of anything you can get through, and then you can take a break if you need to, you know?
Yeah, we are technically, I guess, freelance. So there are so many options, which is awesome. And I think just being able to communicate what your needs are with people when they get hold of you for work.
Right. Michelle, do you know about the daycares on the studios? Are we allowed to use those?
I have no idea, but I wish it was more of an open topic of having daycare on studio lots.
I should have called before and found that information out before doing this.
So studio lots do tend to have daycares?
Yeah, so
I haven't heard of it.
I know Universal does. Universal has a daycare. It's like right by the New York Street. Or not New York, but like the old town street. And I know that like the people who work in the offices on the studios, they have access to it. And then I've heard mixed opinions, but like obviously no one knows well enough about it as to whether or not we can use it or not. But I wish that we had more resources for moms in terms of daycare and childcare. One of the women that I was working with, she was working when she was pregnant. She was on like that show Quinn Medicine Woman or whatever. And she said that their number one who played the medicine woman was pregnant, and they had a trailer that was specifically, and like 3 other crew members were just had babies as well. And they had a whole trailer designated it was a nursing trailer, and they all brought the kids, the babies, and they would nurse in the trailer. And they would hang out in the trailer. And she said that was such a blessing for her.
Was this pre-COVID or post-COVID?
Yeah. So this was like 20 years ago.
In the 90s?
Yeah. So I feel the same way, that it would have been okay. And then COVID happened. So now it was like keeping people off set. Like my baby never visited me on set. And I wish I could have had that. Like even come so I can nurse, so I don't have to just like be in pain and like pump. Like pumping does one thing, but actually nursing the baby, it just gets relief that you can't get, you know?
Exactly. And they were saying, they were like, there was so much more opportunity to bring your kids to set. And now with COVID, you just can't do that anymore. So I don't know if that will change again or what, but that I was like, that sounds like a dream.
I mean, I can't see why not with all the, I mean, we're not testing anymore or wearing masks or anything. So
Yeah, I feel like we're slowly going to get back to that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And then I guess just talking about your mental health.
How great maternity leave was.
Yeah.
working your butt off all year and then having maternity leave that's just you and your baby and feeling so at peace.
So how does that work in LA in the union? Because I know it'll be different for everybody everywhere.
Do you remember exactly what happened with you, Catherine? Because I feel like I took my disability as soon as the last day of work and you're done working because you can't walk anymore.
You can take disability at 34 weeks pregnant. You get those 4 weeks before your due date and you have to take them. You can't like use them retroactively. So if you don't use them, you don't get those 4 weeks back. So that's when it starts. And I highly recommend every mother do that because it's much more than unemployment. It's a pretty good chunk of money.
It's like
and
13 to 1,600 a week or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's really good. And then you get 6 weeks after you get disability, 6 weeks after. I think you get more if you have a C-section.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can extend it if you have any postpartum or complications or any other, issues. And then after that, you can go on paid family leave, which is, again, really great money. And then, unfortunately, after that, it's just unemployment.
Right.
But hopefully you'd want to get back to work after that.
So what's that stretch of time all up?
I think it's like 12 weeks.
It's 18 weeks for disability if you do the 8-week extension. And then it's 8 weeks paid family leave and then unemployment.
So what's interesting, Catherine, is I extended my disability because I had postpartum depression. And they only gave me 4 for mental health.
Wow.
They didn't give me...
They gave 8.
Sort it out in 4 weeks, Michelle. Come on.
Yeah. So they... Actually, it was 6 weeks of therapy, but only paid 4. So that's what was weird.
That's crazy. That's really unfortunate.
And that was through Kaiser.
Oh.
So I don't know. It's very confusing.
But if you're on Kaiser, that's coincides with MPI?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I've had Kaiser my whole life, so I didn't think to change it when I got my insurance. But yeah, so it was, they gave me 6 weeks of postpartum therapy. It was group family therapy, but they only pay for 4, which I thought it was so weird.
That is weird. I was on disability for a total of 18 weeks with the 8-week extension, and they extended mine to 8, and it was paid for the whole time.
I think for future, anyone to just call MPI, make sure you know your coverage and the rules on it and what you can do with it. Because I was going off of other moms and then my doctor, but
and they don't tell.
No, they don't.
Too.
You have to find this information to scrape for it.
Yeah, you have to go searching for this information, and no one tells you. I spoke to a woman, and I was asking her about disability, and she said, because she had 3 kids, and I said, how does disability work? And she said, what do you mean? And I was like, I told her, and she was devastated because she was like, I didn't know that I could go on disability. So she had 3 kids and she just took time off that was unpaid.
Also, you get 40 hours a week through to MPI insurance on disability. And I did not know that. So I did not call MPI to get my hours. Did you know that?
You mean so that they don't take it out of your bank? They don't take...
Yes.
Yeah. You just have to... I'll send an email. I'll give you the link, JL, but you have to email MPI and just take a screenshot of your hours that you take disability, and then they won't take that from your bank, so you won't be drowning your bank of hours.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to work anymore. I got to call them and see what's going on with that. But that was also a piece of information I just learned this year. I was like, oh,
me too.
Okay.
Wow. So yeah, they really don't
give you.
Of course they don't help.
No,
they don't help you out. No, of course not. You've got to figure it out yourself. But exactly. I mean, the more the conversation is happening, hopefully the more each other, you guys can help each other out, which is awesome. So just going back through these stages, let's start with considering having kids working in the industry. What advice would you give those thinking about it?
Do it. If it's truly in your heart and that's what you want, you'll make it work. You'll make it work. It'll work out. It'll be okay. And you're going to get support. If you don't have family, you're going to have some friends there that'll back you up. Or reach out to other moms, other moms in the industry. If someone reached out to me in our industry that didn't know me and needed help, I would be there. 100%.
Yeah. I think you just have to be strong within yourself. Don't let other people bring you down or listen to any negative advice from people, and just know what your path is and what you want from your life. Don't let anything else let it dictate that.
Yeah. I was talking to Michelle about this before we started recording, and I have a friend of mine that is quite passionate about letting young women know that they need to plan it. Like really think about it, because we all know how time just gets away on us and completely our jobs just eat it up.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's, you just go from job to job to job, and you may think about, it's just like those things that you were saying before, Katherine, like, that vacation that I want to go to Europe for summer, or I want to go do this, I want to go do that. And then 3 years later and you still haven't done it because you just continued to pick up projects that, you're excited about. So you just kept working. So I think just actually, I guess, having those discussions and really thinking about it and going, okay, we're gonna try and we'll work it out as things start happening. So
yeah, and what they say to
don't
parents,
keep waiting, I suppose.
Exactly. And what they say to parents now is the days are long, but the years are short. And I think that's the same goes for our industry. We're on these long, long days, but before you know it, 5-10 years goes by. And just know work will always be there. It's always going to be there. Whether your friends are still working and they're like, oh, she's back. Yeah, let's give her a day. Of course, unless you completely don't know anybody in the industry and you have to kind of work from the bottom, but you're going to get back there. Going to come back.
Yeah.
It'll always be there.
And then moving on to pregnancy and working, what advice would you give?
Working in the summer, I had those, I don't know if you remember this, Katherine, I had ice bags I would bring in my setback.
Yes, I remember those.
I would bring them. What are those called? They're almost like, those like heated water bottles you can put hot water in, but you can also put ice water in them.
Oh, I have one in a bin that's like right above my head, but I'd have to get it down. It's like a little pressurized bag that like when you pop it, it gets cold.
Yeah. So I would put those in my bra and in my waistband because it was hot. Let me tell you. And you have that weight. It was hot.
Oh my God. Well, those days on Babylon were you out on that battlefield?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You totally were. Yeah. The dust, the heat, but
also, people try to look out for you, but you have to ultimately look out for yourself. You have to look out for yourself.
Yes.
You have to make sure you're getting your water. You have to make sure you're not in the way of explosions and horses and
say know your limits.
Yeah, know your limits. Know your limits.
You have to have a really honest conversation with yourself and know I probably wouldn't have taken Babylon on, if I was pregnant, I would have, said I need to do something like a game show or something, or day play, or, you know what I mean? And just be honest with yourself and just know that you might miss out on a project that you really wanted to be on, but, something else will come along. And if you can't do it, I think there's no shame in finding where you would be more comfortable.
Yeah, no one's going to judge you for those decisions. No,
No.
You have to look out for yourself 100%.
Exactly.
If I didn't have the support that I had on those shows, I wouldn't have done those shows. But I had amazing support.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were able to do it. You knew you could. How was carrying your kit when you were pregnant? Day playing.
Well, you remember I had everything on that belt, but I would wear it around. I would sling it around my shoulders because obviously the belt's not going to fit. But that I kept it light, but everything was small. We were doing blood and dirt, so it was just blood and dirt in those pockets. It was blood, dirt, baby wipes. That was it. So sweat, yeah. So that way it was easy. I didn't have to bring the big bag. I didn't have to bring the big bag for those shows. I mean, we did for the tattoo cover, but we were in the tents. So, I mean, just one little rolly bag wasn't anything. I wasn't trying to carry a bunch.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Catherine, did you have those compression ice socks? Did I ever send you a link to those? Those were great. I would actually have to ice my feet in order to fit into my shoes in the morning.
Well, I didn't think about that. That's
I had
smart.
to, but then it came a time where it didn't even work. 5 minutes later, it was back. So
I just bought bigger shoes. I did.
Oh my God, guys. I just want to touch on Katherine, saying that you just need to be honest with yourself and know your limits. And I think as a head of department, that goes a long way for me as well. So the more I know about where someone's at, the more support I can give, because I'm not a fucking mind reader. I can't, I don't understand what is happening.
And you have so much other things that you have to worry about that it might go over your head if someone's not communicating with you.
Yeah. It's just like if I don't, no news is good news.
Right.
If I don't hear complaints, then I'm like, okay, well, they must be doing okay.
Right.
So, yeah, I think keeping that communication open with those that you're working with as well.
And not to be scared with the communication. I think a lot of people are scared to say something, but it makes it so much better.
Yeah. As a head of department, I'm probably going to view it more negatively if you don't communicate with me.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's just like, well, then I'm just like, how can I help you if you don't tell me what is happening?
Exactly.
Or what the situation is. And then something happens and you're like, well, if you just told me, we could have sorted this out. Yeah, I'm always up for the more communication, the better. I don't need to know about everything, of course. But, and of course, also, like, I have not been pregnant. I am not a mother. I do not understand all the little bits and pieces that go along with what someone might be experiencing. I have no idea. So if they're putting on that crazy brave front and just trudging through and pretending like everything's amazing, but actually they're half dying inside, then I'm just going to be like, oh, well, okay, that's what it's like.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
And every pregnancy is so different, Catherine, you felt fatigued and tired, and I was on another level. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's definitely different for everybody. And, I think also if you can't communicate with your department head, do you really want to be working with them? Or like if they're going to punish you
it's not the right circle.
You really want to, that's probably not the right job for you anyways. So it's good. I'd rather find that out, you know what I mean? Then I think it's kind of everything happens for a reason. And if, you're not in the right place, you should figure that out sooner than later.
Right. So you mean just not assume how they're going to react or treat you, but just take the steps to communicate and see how it goes.
Exactly. And then if they're like, well, this is a really hard job and, I need you here 24/7 and I need you, then I would say I probably can't, like going back to being honest with yourself, I probably can't give that right now. And so I need to go figure something else out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the head of department's going to appreciate that. I'm always going to appreciate that. It's just like, okay, well, we'll sort this out earlier than later. But in saying that, it's just like, as far as HR goes and being a department head, I can't ask any of those things.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So for instance, if I'm interviewing somebody and they obviously look like they're 8 months pregnant, I can't say, oh, so what are your plans with the pregnancy, blah, blah. I can't mention it. I can't say a fucking thing about it.
Right.
So, and same goes, if you find out midway or whatever, like I can't broach that subject really. They need to talk to me about what
they need.
Yeah.
You can't fire someone who's pregnant either, right?
Oh, firing them because they're pregnant?
Well, I mean, they would always
that would just be
thinking that, that was the reason or whatever. So,
well, yeah, I mean, that would just be stupid.
Well,
but in saying that, I mean, if somebody is pregnant but not communicating with you and there's a whole bunch of shit that just keeps happening because of it, then it's just like, just talk to each other, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
just communicate.
for me, my decision was to be a full-time day player. That was my goal. I didn't want to be full-time on the team. I just was fortunate and lucky enough to be on 2 different shows, and my weeks were full, just day playing. And I think when you give yourself that, if you know you're going to have all these doctor's appointments and you're getting fairly large, just know that take it day by day. You don't need to put yourself through the drama of being in the main team, knowing that you might have to leave. But if you're an additional, then it's easier on your department, I feel. I don't know if you can comment on that, Katherine.
I actually liked being not carrying my stuff around every day and setting up. I liked just being able to put my backpack on and go to work. And I liked working during my pregnancy because it helped the time go by so quickly, so much more quickly than it would if I was, I don't know, sitting at home. Not that you were sitting at home, but if I wasn't day playing or if I wasn't working at all. But
no, totally. And I was full time in a sense. What I mean is I wasn't full time in the trailer, knowing that I could leave at any moment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and my department head was really great about knowing. She was just like, whenever you're done,
right,
and we'll work it out. Don't worry about it, So.
Which is great. Goes back to communication,
Yeah.
Being open.
Exactly.
And people want to help you, they want to be there for you. Maybe not all of them, but there are people that want to be there for you.
Yeah. Everybody was helping me carry stuff, helping me, I don't know, get food.
Stepping in and out of the trail. Yeah. Getting food, snacks.
Yeah.
And what about that transition of going back to work? What kind of advice would you give there?
I had plans of going back sooner than I did, but you never know when you're in this situation. And once my family leave was up, that's when my postpartum set in. And I think a lot of it mentally was, I have to leave my baby now. I have to go back to this job that, is long hours, and how many days in a row am I not going to see her? And I just got really, really depressed. You're still going through hormones, and I was breastfeeding, and I hadn't even thought about what was going to happen while I was away from her. How many hours did I need to pump? How much milk did I need to have? Because I didn't know, because I was there feeding her all day long. They tell you how many ounces that they need per feeding, but the whole thing was so scary to me. I thought she was going to die if I left. That's how bad it was for me. Yeah. So I was listening to myself and my body. And if I'm crying every day over it, then it's obviously not time to go back to work. Yeah. And just to know that it's not time, and that's okay. But I think, working through therapy, a lot of it was, this is my identity. My identity is a makeup artist in the industry. And if I'm not doing that, then who am I? I'm just a mother now. That's what I am. And that's great. But a lot of it was making me so deeply sad that I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was without doing those things.
I'm my best self when I'm working, and I need that. And I get kind of in a funk or depressed when I'm not working. And so to be a good mother, I think I need to be working.
Exactly. And that's how I felt too. I need to create something. I just created a life, and this life I have with my baby is great. But now it's time for me to also have that part of my life back. And I think I was just spiraling that it wasn't as soon as I thought it was going to be. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready like I thought I was going to be ready. And so it almost...
You put a bit of pressure on yourself.
I was putting so much pressure on myself. And my baby was also not taking a bottle. So I had these really dark, catastrophizing every situation, that if I left, she would starve to death. That's just, it's not true. But in my mind and my hormones and everything that was happening, I felt that was true. So realizing that I do need therapy, I need to get postpartum help, and that can happen. It can happen later. Sometimes people think that you're going to have the baby and then you're going to get postpartum. It can happen within 2 years. It can happen within those 2 years of after the baby's born. Yeah. It can also happen again when you're weaning nursing. It can happen again. It's like when those hormones fluctuate. I haven't really gone through that yet. I'm still nursing 2 years later. Don't ask me how. It just is. But
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what my body's going to do after that. But yeah, once the postpartum therapy happened and I was feeling better, my therapist was like, I think you're ready. Just start with one day. Okay. I did one day, and that was removing prosthetics for James. And that came home, my baby was still alive.
Woohoo!
And then you start again, you do another day, and then maybe 2 days a week, maybe 3 days a week. And then I got a job. I got a 6-month job just doing background. And again, it was perfect. Some weeks I would do 3 days a week. Some weeks I would do 4. And that was perfect for me. I started the job off pumping and then ended the job not having to pump anymore because she was on solids.
Having
so
that flexibility.
It's just,
I was supposed to go back to work after 3 months, and then the strike happened. And so it's enabled me to have more time. But I bought this like $400 pump that goes under your shirt and you can't tell that you're pumping, and I never got to use it. So I'm gonna need to resell that or something.
I worked with a girl who had that. She was pumping, and she had that in her shirt, and I'm like taking bathroom breaks doing it. I'm like, God damn it. I should have got that.
Yeah. I know. It's the most amazing pump ever. And I got the whole backpack that goes with it. And I'm like, I'm going to pump at work.
You couldn't even hear it. I'm like, it's amazing. She's doing last looks and she's pumping.
Yeah.
Oh my
great.
God. That's amazing.
Yeah. You can't see it. You can't hear it. It's like you can be around people, and that I was looking forward to using that. But
Lady, hold on to it. You might need it for next time.
And they do. They have to give you a space to pump. Every production does. But it's, again, you have to open communication and tell people what you need. Yeah. Or they're just going to be like, can you just go in the bathroom? But if you don't feel comfortable with it, then they have to give you room. But honestly, I didn't care. I was like, whatever. We were at Manhattan Beach stages. Those bathrooms were nice. They were clean. And I honestly felt unbothered in there. I was like, no one's going to bug me in the stall.
Yeah.
But at Warner Brothers, they gave me a room. All those stages have rooms. So
exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your motherhood/set life experience with us.
Of course. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.